You know, do you ever see Michael Bublé and whoever the hell this is, and you just think lavender? When I was a kid, I had a very weird Frank Sinatra fixation. And when I say kid, I'm talking early elementary school aged kid. I originally discovered him through the movie Sing, the Seth MacFarlane mouse character. And I'm not sure what it was, but it was something about his silky smooth vocals that just blew my pea-sized little mind. He also got me interested in fedoras, which I started having my parents buy and started wearing, which totally wasn't going to come back to bite me in the ass once fedoras started getting prominently worn and associated with a certain type of internet user who frequented a certain message board website. But I digress. Now, I would hear Frank Sinatra on oldies radio stations every now and again, and I would always enjoy when they popped up. Pennies from Heaven, My Way were two of my favorites, even though I know he apparently hated My Way. However, a side effect of this was that I was also into Michael Bublé, who is basically the reincarnation of Frank Sinatra. I found him through the radio, and I also had this Just Dance game on Nintendo Wii that had Feeling Good on it. Now, eventually I started to get less into them as time went on and the hyperfixation wore off, but I still respect their musical ability and legacy. Now, briefly changing the subject to another well-known song, Santa Baby. Santa Baby, originally by Eartha Kitt, is one of the better Christmas songs out there. The iconic story of a gold digger seducing Santa Claus into giving her a ton of expensive gifts is hilarious. And don't give me the excuse of, oh no, it's not the real Santa Claus. Santa Claus is just meant to represent her husband. No, that's complete bullshit. Just let me have this. Santa is literally spooning her on the single cover. Now, what most people don't know is I Saw My Mommy's Kissing Santa Claus is actually a direct sequel to Santa Baby, canon confirmed. Now, back on the subject of Michael Bublé. One thing Michael Bublé is well known for are his covers of popular Christmas songs. He's covered pretty much every Christmas song of worth out there, including Santa Baby. Now, while most of Michael's songs are direct one-to-one covers of the original, Michael decided to take some creative liberties with Santa Baby. Today, I'll be cross-analyzing the lyrics of both versions and find out once and for all if Michael Bublé is gay. Okay, so first off, Michael doesn't call him Santa Baby. He instead calls him Santa Buddy. This is despite the fact that the song is still named Santa Baby, but, whatever. Brand recognition, I guess. In two other lines, he also calls him Pally and Poppy, which I think Poppy in particular comes off as more gay than if he just said baby. And then for one line, he just says baby anyway, so what's even the point? He changes I've been an awfully good girl to I've been an awfully good guy, which, fair enough. I think if he did leave that line in, we'd have a whole other issue. He changes dear to dude, which honestly is just laughable. Michael changes a lot of the lyrics to the song to sound less gay, but he does a really sloppy job and leads in a lot of stuff that sounds kinda sus. In the original version, the speaker asks for girly things like a fur coat and a ring, so Michael decides to replace these things with manly things, like a Rolex, and instead of asking Santa for a ring, he just says, cha-ching. Because he's straight, or at least is what Genius says, I don't. For the part where they ask for a car, Michael still asks for a car, but instead of asking for a 54 convertible, he asks for a 65 convertible. Also, instead of being light blue, it's steel blue, because steel's more manly, I guess. He leaves the verse with her asking for a yacht mostly unchanged, except for the fact that he changes I've been an angel all year to I've been a sweetie all year, which comes off as way more gay. Then in the part where Eartha asks about all the boys she hasn't kissed, Michael instead says all the hotties he hasn't kissed, which hotties feels like an uncharacteristically improper word to say here. This isn't a rap song, and that isn't even to mention the fact that it isn't just girls who can be called hot, like hottie is a unisex term. I think Michael should have just said ladies, but he's so confident in his sexuality he doesn't feel the need to specify. Again, Genius's words, not mine. Michael, don't hit me with a cease and desist, alright? Look, I would never try questioning your sexuality more than you already have. You are so manly. You're the manliest man to ever man up. You get all the hotties, and when I say all of them, I mean all of them of all genders. You do not discriminate. There's also another line he changed where instead of asking for a duplex in checks and asking Santa to sign it, he instead says, and I quote, Santa buddy, fill my stocking with Canucks ticks for kicks, throw me on the first line. So this line's kinda niche. So the Canucks are this Canadian hockey team that Michael, I guess, is a fan of. Ticks is slang for tickets, and the first line is considered the 3 top players. Then there's the line where they ask Santa to trim their Christmas tree, which Michael Bublé leaves completely unchanged, which Genius masterfully points out implies Santa is trimming Michael's pubic hair. Despite not changing that, he changes the lines about decorations, say he's buying them from Mercedes instead of Tiffany's. That threw me off because I thought Mercedes was a car company, but apparently they've done decorations on the side, and I guess it is distinctly more manly in Tiffany & Co., so I guess that checks out. Yeah, if you haven't noticed it yet, pretty much all of the Genius annotations are just people dunking on Michael. Rightfully so. Personally, I think Michael should just let the song alone, because even with all the new lyrics, this song still sets off my gaydar like crazy. The song retains that flirty tone the original had, and it does not help anything. He could probably read out the Old Testament in this tone and it would probably still sound gay. Combine that with all the slip-ups, and this doesn't give off the vibe of a guy who's straight, it gives off the vibe of a guy who's gay, repressing it and keeps slipping up every now and again. So I rest my case. Michael is gay, or at least a little bit bicurious. Honestly, I've been flaming Michael a lot for this, but I haven't even mentioned Santa barely. I mean, what does this mean for Mrs. Claus and their marriage? I don't know, I guess that's an investigation for another day. TMZ, you can find my email in the channel description if you want to hit me up. Bye.